So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome back. My name is Ian, the part-time Dungeon Master. Today I'm joined by our lovable halfling bard, Tulip Anthu,
Hey.
who is our bubble of joy and sass. Mind introducing yourself, maybe even plugging any content you create or what you do.
Yeah, my name is Shiloh. I go by Lunalip on Twitter and Instagram, where I'm most active. I post like art and things like that on my Instagram and various other shit posting on Twitter. So you can follow me there.
Who doesn't love a good shit post every now and then?
Me.
Normally, every now and then, it's more of pictures of books that we want, but we can't afford.
Basically, yeah.
So, on to the questions. With you joining me and the others on the adventure of the Seriscan Campaign, this odd creation of a world that I have brewed up somewhere, possibly between the lack of sleep and alcohol, uh, have you, in regards to Dungeons and Dragons and other similar role-playing games, how much experience do you have?
Okay, so my experience is kind of an interesting tale because I started my senior year of high school. The second semester I started in March of 2017. I know that exactly because it was wild. I was invited by my friend. I'm going to call him Jeff for privacy reasons. Um,
That's fair.
so we were basically joined by Jeff, his brother, our other friend, and their other friend, which I'm pretty sure is a sociopath. Continuing on.
That's kind of a thing to leave off on.
Yes. So we're playing together, and we have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. My first character was a wood elf cleric, and they told me first that Constitution doesn't matter, so I can put my lowest status. So I did
I
that.
think I see where this is going.
And so we would play and we would do things, and then things would fail. Then we'd start over, and then we'd start over, then we'd start over. And nobody was our official DM. They just kind of switched off, like, hey, who wants to DM tonight? And so that's just kind of the way it was. So I never really had a true experience until I said, hey, why don't I try DMing for a few sessions? So I crammed as much knowledge as I could into my little raccoon brain, and I did my best, and that's just kind of how I started. And then after a while, things just weren't working out with them. They were just getting really weird. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just making my own session. And so I've been DMing for about, I want to say, a year. And yeah, that's just my experience. It's kind of just been me leading myself.
I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And deciding, okay, this group of people that I have are a little too crazy.
Yeah.
And we need to, like, rail this in somehow.
Um,
That seems
yeah.
reasonable.
I mean, I guess that wasn't my first experience because in high school, I think I was like a sophomore, my friend created a homebrew Skyrim kind of tabletop game. But I only went to
Oh,
that
wow.
once because it was a train wreck. And I ended up rolling a 20 to beat a brick wall down with a cast iron pan. And that was all. That was all I cared about doing, and I never went back.
Wait, wait, wait. Why were you trying to beat a brick wall with a cast iron?
um, he made this like kind of like mini game thing. So we're all in this like mansion, and somebody is the murderer, and we have to find out who the murderer is. It's kind of like um, Gary's mod, one of those game modes in
Mm-hmm.
Gary's mod. So I was a high elf, Um, and so they asked me, so where do you want to start? And I said, obviously the kitchen. I'm a high elf. And so
Some sound logic there.
yeah. So that's where I was, and I wanted to move into the hallway into the quickest way possible. And looking at the map, I was like, I'm just gonna beat this wall down with my cast iron pan. And he's like, you gotta roll for that. And so I did, and I rolled a 20. And he was like, oh my god, why?
So you just Kool-Aid man straight through the wall?
Yeah, basically. And he said, okay, you fall into the void. And I said, no, I walk into the hallway. And he like looks at his map, and he just sighs. Fine, he says, and he just, fine. So,
well,
yeah.
should have just bust through. Oh yeah.
Basically. Well, she was a legend, but.
And because apparently I have to ask this of everyone, what is your favorite type of cheese?
That's a good question. I like a variety of cheeses. I like those Baby Bell ones you can get in like the red package.
Oh, the little individually wrapped pieces of cheese?
Yeah, that's for when I'm feeling bougie.
When you're feeling bougie.
Yeah. When you gotta treat yourself, I get me some Baby Bell cheeses.
I do not want a normal cheese. I want the most highest of quality cheese.
Not
what those poor people have.
Yeah, bougie. Jeffree Star could never. Anyway. Yes, he could. He could very much.
Well, but with back with Dungeons and Dragons, you mentioned that you have dungeon mastering experience for the better part, if not a whole year now. So, in your own words, your raccoon brain, is it capable of coming up with decisions quickly or going with the flow when players don't do what you want them to do?
You know, that was actually a big concern of mine when I first started, because, like, you know, it's like a lot of improv, especially when things don't go the way you plan. And especially with a group like what I was starting with, it was definitely going to go that way, and I knew that. So I was actually surprised with how quick I was able to, like, come up with a solution to the problem. Like, I thought it was pretty good. Looking back, like, my first time, it might have not been as, you know, good as I thought, but, you know, you got to progress your skill, and eventually you become a lot more adaptable with your choices.
I mean, yeah. My first group that I fully tried dungeon mastering for was its own train wreck.
Well, that's something we have in common.
F you, Steve.
F you, Jeff.
Oh. But what about your own character in the campaign, Tulip? Where did she learn to become a bard, essentially? Considering she was raised by a turtle monk.
Well, that kind of plays into her backstory a bit, with her father being that kind of well-known bard with his magic pan flute, you know. I imagine she really looked up to her father, and so she'd want to be like him, so she'd want to pick up that musical skill. And she's always just seemed like a creative, like, personality, so I think that fits her really well.
I can definitely see that, and something I'm going to be playing off of very soon in the upcoming sessions.
Oh boy, that's exciting. Yeah.
Speaking of...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Tulip's been pretty evasive with her backstory thus far, so...
I mean, I can understand that, you know, not really wanting to share it with everyone else, and especially since Regnus is being a sourpuss and not really want to share his stuff with everyone else.
Yeah.
So... I mean, you guys haven't known each other for a very long time, possibly a little over a week, maybe 2 weeks. So
Yeah, I think one of her personality traits actually is I trust my guardian and doubt most others. So she's not want to share that information.
And also, what is your hope for the future of, or to see in the current campaign?
Honestly, I don't have any plans really. I just want to go with the flow. I like where it's headed, and I'm just here to have a good time and enjoy myself. So I'm doing that so far. I have no plans. I just like where it's going, and I don't think I could come up with anything better than what you're doing now. So.
Oh, don't sell yourself short. I second guess everything that I write, so I'm like, oh no, that won't work. That's not good. I need to rewrite this, otherwise the session's not going to make sense.
Yeah.
That's like every night, and then like an hour before the campaign, I'm normally like, shit, is this going to work right? No. What if I change it real quick?
Hey, at least you're right, and I sit down and go, here, fuckers, this is what we're doing.
I mean, sometimes you got to do that too. There's this like, oh, we're being railroaded. It's like, yes, because you assholes keep going off to the farthest ends of the universe because it's there.
Yeah.
I remember one campaign I had. The players literally chased a guy, halfway across the kingdom because he stole a coin purse from them. The problem is they had thousands of gold, but this one guy who stole a coin purse with like 50 gold in it, they hunted him down, brutally murdered him, wasted about 3 game sessions doing this.
Oh my god.
I'm just like, god damn it.
I'd want to like actually stab myself.
Like when they found him, he was like crying and like hiding in a place. He's like, I just stole a small amount of money compared to what you guys have. They're like, we don't care. Then they killed him and like butchered his body and everything.
It's okay.
Like, my players are psychotic.
I had a session in which, this was with my old session when I first started DMing. They started in this town and it got under siege by goblins. So they then proceeded to set the town on fire and loot all of the houses, burn the houses. Then the dwarf was complaining, like, why does this villager have wine? That's the king's wine. And I was just like, why?
So wait, it's like, you guys need to save the town. Alright, so we're going to burn the town down while stealing everything.
Yeah, that was their opener. I said, you can fight the goblins, or we can set these buildings on fire. I guess that's an option.
I mean, yeah, I can't say anything. One time in a campaign as Orc the Thief, I set off explosions in the warehouse district to get all the guards in the city over there while we broke into somewhere else.
Wow.
Yeah, I caused a large amount of mayhem.
Well, hey, it's a smooth tactic.
Yeah.
Especially as
I was like, I got the distraction handled. Don't worry about it, guys. And like after the explosion, and I like rendezvoused with everyone. They're like, did you cause the explosion? And I was like, no, it wasn't me. I don't know what happened. I was just like, throwing rocks at the guards and getting their attention to chase me. And the next thing I knew, just boom. I have no idea what happened. The other rogue in the group was like, you used the dynamite, didn't you? I'm like, shut up. So because I asked Regnus a serious question, it's not fair that I don't ask you a serious question.
Yeah.
With yourself, I had noticed on Twitter at one point stating that you wanted to run a LGBTQ plus themed D&D group or campaign.
Yeah. The Three Musketeers.
The Three Musketeers. I still like that name, I won't lie. With everything that's been going on, the changes in society and everything in real life, do you think Dungeons and Dragons is a good tool to help people open up about such things?
I mean, yeah, I'd say
Like,
so. I mean, there's lots of tools that people can use. However, I think this is just a good way for people to come together of all backgrounds, orientations, etc., and just have fun. And especially being such a forgiving game, you can really just do a lot. And I know, like, there's been a lot more like media being in support of people of the LGBT community, and I think that's good, especially being somebody from the LGBT community. You know, it's just really great, and especially with like Critical Role and like stuff like that. There's even a podcast group called Queens of Adventure, and it's a bunch of drag queens playing D&D. Like, that's fantastic.
I mean, I won't lie. I would kind of be curious to see how that is. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like, I'm not. You're not getting me into fishnets. So,
I started listening to
it's,
it like a few days ago, and I've been loving it so far. Pretty great.
yeah.
I highly recommend.
But so yeah, then you do agree that it could be a very useful tool in for people coming out and kind of expressing themselves better, especially if they're from, say, a background or an area in which it wasn't easy to express that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, yeah, D&D has been a really great thing. Like, people all have their own things. Like, some people like sports, or like they like clubs at school and stuff like that. And for some people, D&D is a really good tool for that, and especially recently.
Especially since D&D is no longer that, oh, you're just some nerd outsider, outcast person that, plays Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it's been becoming
When
quite
I was,
normalized.
yeah, it's much more normalized and much more accepting. The other day, actually, I was at a Chick-fil-A, and I was just eating before I went to go to the gym, and I'm sitting there eating my stupid salad, and I hate salads, but I'm doing the healthy thing. But I'm sitting there eating it, and I just like, for like every now and then I hear like Matt Mercer, and I'm like, okay, someone's playing, Overwatch. It's okay. Then I hear Fairy Fire, and there's like that stupid goblin got away, and I was like, wait, what? Hold on, what? And just like a table over were these three college students, and they were talking about Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
and a campaign that they had recently played in, and a new campaign that they were going to be starting up. And so, like, after I finished my food, I just like went over. I'm like, hey, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
no.
Like, I have a supervisor at my workplace, and she had a kind of tattoo that looked like a D20 on her leg. So, I had to ask her. I was like, is that a D20 tattoo? And she was like, oh, no, but I have friends who play. And so, it's just like, it seems like everyone that I've talked to, they either played or they know somebody who has. It's just becoming so much more big, I think.
Back in my day, if you wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, you had to find a basement. And we were outcasts, and everyone hated us and thought we were worshipping Satan. And we liked it.
I mean, that's still happening for me. So.
That's right. Aren't you also in a remote part of the country?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I live in the middle of a cornfield where everyone is either on crystal meth or coke.
Yep.
The usual.
I am not from a forgiving place of Georgia either. So, I remember talking with someone recently, and it's like, speaking of like people trying to become more open and more accepting of things that they normally wouldn't be, there was once a event going on in the town that I live nearby, and they had belly dancers show up and doing the dance. They actually had the actual correct attire, the drums, the music, all of it was correct to the culture. And then like a preacher of one of the 6 or 7 churches in the town, because there's like Baptist, Southern Baptist, First Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, several others, I think. Anyways, one of them, came out and started raising a big stink towards them, and a number of other people joined in on him, and they pretty much made them leave, get up and pack their things and leave in the middle of the event.
Wow.
To where, yeah, and I'm just like, you guys are unbelievable assholes.
That's like, oh my gosh. I don't like that. All those, they were all probably middle-aged white guys too, or old people.
All old people. I think the youngest was like 55.
Yep.
So, none of the, this is not a very accepting town.
Yeah.
So, that is unfortunately where I live.
This house is wild.
Yeah. I want to move.
I don't blame you.
So yeah. Moving on to less serious, more fun things.
Alright.
Is there something that you think that your character would know about the current campaign that you feel like you as a player you should know, or that your character would know of everything?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Tulip can be kind of oblivious at times.
I've
yeah,
noticed.
she can be kind of selfish at times. Sometimes she just doesn't really take note of what other people are going through. Like, I mean, the last session she said, "Wow, he sounds depressed," but like, did she really think about it much more after that? Probably not. So that's just kind of the way she is. I don't really know, honestly. I don't think she would.
So she's kind of a leaf on the wind. She just kind of goes where it takes her.
Yeah, honestly, she's that type of person. She'll pay note if it seems interesting to her, or it might affect her in some way. And so far, I really don't think she's really had that yet. So she's just kind of like, whatever.
I can see that. Also, what made Tulip decide to start traveling and trying to be like her father, Avisvis?
Well, after he passed, she knew that the dwarves from her old town had kind of raided everything, and they took his signature pan flute, and that's her only real connection to her old family. And so being on the hunt for that, kind of, she kind of has to go on the road for that. She doesn't know where to be. She doesn't really have any leads so far, so she kind of just has to take to the road and see where it takes her. It's just kind of like a really big egg hunt for her, I guess.
Well, she did get one lead from the gnome shopkeeper with the instruments. He said that he remembered Avisvis being a child with his father and then moving towards the north.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the only lead she got.
Oh, yeah, and I wrote it down. She knows about that. And like I said, it's because it affects her personally. So she'll remember that because it's personal to her. But
she probably won't remember Mr. Fetner, though.
She doesn't want to. She's just going to repress that.
An older man suddenly just appearing before her with flowers.
It's like, man didn't even show up himself. Rude. The audacity.
The audacity of turning down his servant.
Yeah, I think she is curious as to why he's so interested in her, but I'm sure we'll figure that out later.
I'll save that one, but I will say in session 8, he will kind of appear again and offer a job to the players.
Oh, lovely.
One that aligns with your group's morals, mind you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, but yeah, so with us approaching the close of Book 1 of the Seriscan Campaign, essentially the first arc that everything is going in, what do you think should be resolved before the end of this arc?
Um, honestly, I hmm. Well, I don't know actually. That's I feel like we've actually come pretty good, pretty close to the good like winding down portion, especially after our last session with who we fought, and now Regnus has the thing he needs. I think this is a good uh, stopping portion, especially for their kind of arc. So I actually think we're in a good spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been kind of interesting considering, you know, I've been trying my best to like leave little bits and clues here and there for not only you and Regnus, but like to try and get, you know, the others as well into everything. But with the way that their characters are, they're just kind of happy with going with the flow.
Mhm.
Even Tulip's happy with going with the flow. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, Regnus is the only one being essentially driven to find answers.
Yeah, I feel like that's just kind of his character, though. Especially, he seems like a really stubborn character, so he wants to he needs to get this done. It's his purpose. It's his destiny, etc., etc. He has to, so he's very motivated to do that. Um, I did actually listen to the previous interview, so I kind of know a little bit about it. But yeah, for Tulip right now, she's obviously, like I said, oblivious, and nothing like outright has affected her except for the gnome that they ran into. So she's kind of, I'm glad to help, love my friends. So
What about her experience down in the SCP department?
um, I thought that was kind of spooky. However, she did get some good loot. It's just like, oh, any liquid? Let me think of the most expensive one.
Yeah, I just found it funny that, you know, Magnus they thought he'd be smart and asked for a cup of happiness, so I gave him chicken noodle soup. So
That was the best. I was like, oh, you little shit.
uh I'm wondering how he's going to test the sedative, because if he tests it on himself, that'll be funny. If he tests it on another player, that'll still be funny. So
Yeah, that will be interesting.
but yeah, that brings to close all the questions that I have. Do you have any questions for me? Remember, they're not mandatory. You don't have to ask.
I think I have one.
Okay.
What's one of your most notable experiences in one of your past sessions?
Oh, wait, for this campaign?
Any campaign.
My most notable experience
Yeah,
as a
like
player
something
or
that you
dungeon
just
master?
really remember.
Oh, the thing that I just really remember. I would have to say the time that I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons. I was with a group of older men, like old Marines and Army military men. They were each at least 50 or 60 years old, and they were all playing the original Dungeons and Dragons when I found them.
Oh.
And I joined them. And I played my rogue, or thief back then. And I learned THAC0 and everything. And the most memorable moment would have to have been the fight that my character had with the paladin, Tanis.
Ooh.
The paladin didn't like thieves, or anyone of sneaky nature. Didn't like thieves, assassins, or any of them. But there was like a grudging respect for my thief because he wasn't evil. He was neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, if you were a thief, the best you can be is neutral, otherwise you're evil.
Okay.
So, alignment lock was very serious back then. Not so much anymore. But the two of them had always argued and bickered because Auric saw things in a practical way. You do things because it's the quickest, easiest way to do it, and that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about how you feel about it. Tanis, on the other hand, was a very strict, lawful, good, do it right, do it by the book, and do it for the best of people.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the two of them never fully got along. And then, one moment, Tanis picked up a bracer we were tasked to get the bracer by a white dragon matriarch. And she wanted the bracer, brought to her so that way she could seal it away because it had the power to control white dragons. And she didn't want anyone controlling her or her kin.
Mm-hmm.
So we agreed. Well, the problem is if you are not of evil alignment and you try and touch the bracer, it immediately starts trying to kill you by essentially trying to freeze you and having runes of coldness carved onto your body through magic. And Tanis picks it up with his bare hands because he doesn't think anyone else is righteous enough to wield or to carry it. So, Auric knocked it out of his hand and almost caused a large fight between the rest of the group and everything as he pushed Tanis against the wall and yelled at him that if he wanted to die on his own time, not to die in the middle of this dingy-ass dungeon that they had just got done crawling all the way through just because he's being too arrogant to allow others to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that moment there was a better respect between the two of them, but it didn't last long because 2 sessions later, when we were giving the bracer to the White Dragon Matriarch and we were on the edge of this wild magic zone, she decided to betray us and try and kill us, which we kind of figured would happen.
Yeah.
My thief decided it would be a great idea to run back into the wild magic zone with the bracer to get it as far away from the dragon as possible and pull the dragon into the wild magic zone to where none of her spells or anything could work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I messed up. Because wild magic back then didn't only affect your spells to where it's I cast Cure Wounds, but instead I turned your arm into a fish. Whoopsie.
Yeah.
It also affected magic items, meaning your magical sword now does something different. And instead of my magical daggers allowing me to essentially blink 20 feet in any direction, I skipped between realms. And I lost the bracer in the skip.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was my big epic leaving of that campaign, was that I grabbed the bracer, ran into the wild magic zone, and as the dragon almost got me, I blinked out of existence, and people were, they killed the dragon, and they were expecting me to appear at any moment. And I was expecting to appear at any moment, and then it's Auric, you see the multiverse spanning in front of you as you kind of leap through all of it. The bracer getting heavier and heavier before it finally leaves your grasp and goes cratering off into another multiverse. And then you see a bright light, and that's where we ended the session.
Wow.
I jumped from old Dungeons and Dragons to the first edition group. So I jumped editions from then on, and then I just played the same rogue again in the next group, and it's nope, it's the same guy. It's just he has got everything backwards.
Yep.
But that is the most memorable moment for Dungeons and Dragons that I have, at least for me.
Well, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, this is what I get for playing for so many years. But I've got a number of other favorites, but I think that one holds the most to me because it was that moment that Auric and Tanis finally started to get along and truly started to respect each other, and Auric thinking things weren't going to go well enough and thinking that, they were doomed, the least you could do is deny this white dragon having the item it wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And, he made a error in judgment.
Well,
so
it's not getting what it wanted.
Yeah, but, now Oric is somewhere in the multiverse.
Somewhere. He's having a good time, probably.
He is. He's shown up in Pathfinder, 5th edition, and other places because it's him.
I do recall he was on the wanted poster in the Seriscan Campaign, wasn't he?
Indeed he was. 500 platinum pieces.
The Panty Raider.
Catch me if you can.
You can't.
I mean, you could try. I can't guarantee that, you will succeed. But, it is what it is. Now, the Raven, who had her poster put over his for 500 gold pieces, you guys can definitely catch her.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's some extra money for you.
Noted.
Any other questions?
I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Shiloh, for joining me for this interview. Once again, everyone, you can find her on Twitter and Instagram at LunaLif.
Mm-hmm.
Links, as always, here on the screen as well as in the description, so that way you can just click on them and see her wonderful artwork and her occasional shitposting.
Well, thanks for having me here and in the session. Good.
I honestly would not have it any other way. You and Kiata have definitely helped round out the party from the fiery-headed individual to some more calmer minds.
Fair enough. You gotta have some balance.
Thank you very much, and we'll catch you guys in the next session.